tasked with assembling an elite team to travel through time. All your worlds are about to change.
Hey guys, Nick here and welcome back to another Legends of Tomorrow episode review. My thoughts on tonight's episode of Legends of Tomorrow titled Marooned. And you know, this has been a really slow DC TV week, considering Flash and Arrow are both on their spring break, and we had Supergirl on Monday, and it goes jumps from Supergirl to and Gotham, if you can count that, but I don't watch that crappy show. And now we're inside Legends of Tomorrow. And then this episode almost kind of suited this week. If I don't know if that makes any sense. Because, this episode, while I knew it was going to be another filler episode, I wasn't expecting, anything at all. But you know what? I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a very, a quieter, still kind of action-packed, tell, a smaller story, not as, big scale or anything. Obviously, they're still trying to figure out how to stop Vandal Savage, like they are every single episode. But you know what? Seeing a little more backstory more backstory of Rip, I kind of like seeing that. I mean, I'm just like, okay, there's not much to this character anyway. I mean, we know that his family was killed, and then we see him and his wife when they were both Time Masters, and then the Time Masters find out they're dating or whatever, and then it's like, oh, you can't do that anymore. You guys both got to go, and then the wife resigns. And I don't know how I felt about that stuff. I mean, yes, it was interesting seeing how driven Rip was and how he was ready to quit. And she told him, I believe in you and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of did like seeing that and seeing, when Rip does interact with the people who, the Time Pirates or whatever. And the other Time Master, how they're talking about how great of a Time Master Rip was. And I do like having that bit of backstory. I mean, I really haven't cared for a whole lot for Rip so far this series. Because I feel like they've made Rip kind of an asshole. And for a guy who's really trying to fix the timeline and stop Vandal Savage and save his family, he's treating his teammates like shit. And I haven't liked that aspect of the character. When he does have his moments, though, I do kind of enjoy him. But sometimes I just think, as a character, he does let his emotions get the better of him, and especially with his decision making, he doesn't have enough faith in his team. At this point, I still think. But seeing a bit more who he is in this episode, I kind of like seeing that. And seeing everyone in such a closed-off kind of environment. Again, this episode, smaller scale, just kind of dealing with, the team being, half of them were all captured and the rest were trying to figure out how to save them. It was fixed as soon as I heard, that Time Pirate's going to be in this episode, I'm like, okay, that's such a stupid idea for Villains of the Week or whatever. But you know what? They barely used him, and all they did was kind of further, showing the dynamic of the team. Sorry, I just got a text. And just seeing how the team interacts under these harsh circumstances. And I think one of the bigger highlights of the episode for me personally was Mick and Snart's interactions. Because obviously after last week when, Mick was all happy about being in a crime or criminal ruled future in Star City in 2046, and then being pulled back from that by Snart, that damaged their relationship. And then we find out in this episode that they've been basically friends since he helped him in Juvie, helped Snart out in Juvie way back when he was 14. So seeing that the fact that they do have a lot of history together, they aren't just they've been they've been doing bad things for a few years. No, it's been majority of their lives. They've known each other and have had each other's backs. But you know what? Seeing how Mick was and how hot-tempered he is, and seeing more of the heat wave from the comics, because I like Dominic Purcell, the guy who plays Heatwave. I like him as an actor. I like the way he portrays the character when he has a little more depth. But at the same time, there are some times where I just feel like he's just playing a hothead. He's not necessarily playing Heatwave. In this episode, I felt like he was playing Heatwave. Especially how the episode, it's him and the relationship between Heatwave and Captain Cold is one of my favorite things about this show, and about, the relationship on Flash and Arrow. Besides the fact that, it's reuniting the guys from Prison Break. I didn't watch that show, but, even then, you can still tell, the actors have a strong bond with each other. And I like seeing that carried over to this show. And seeing how really tied in these characters really are, and seeing their relationship, and how Snart feels about it. And even in those scenes when Snart and Sarah were in that freezer thing, and Snart was opening up about it, and we're seeing in this series, I like how we're seeing more of an open and kind of brighter side to Leonard Snart. And when this show first said that they're bringing in Captain Cold, I was like, oh come on, they're just doing the whole New 52 Justice League thing when they brought Captain Cold in. But you know what? I'm liking how they're using Captain Cold and how they're developing him as a character and making him a little more heroic, a little more. I like what they're doing with him as a character, because he's not just he's not the one note villain I thought he was when they first introduced him back in first season of Flash. And you know what? I'm liking what they're doing with this character a lot. Again, they're giving him depth, they're giving him more to work with, and it's just a pleasure to see him and Dominic Rousseau and their relationship further in the show, and I really like seeing that. And even that, by the end of the episode, when we see that scene between Snart and Mick, there was some emotional depth to that I really enjoyed. And ultimately, when Snart points the gun at Mick and fires, do we know if Mick's still alive? Did he just freeze him? We don't know what's gonna happen. If he's gone for sure, because this show shows after Hawkman's death that they're willing to kill off some of their main characters. Granted, Hawkman is a character that can reincarnate, so he's not really killing them off. But you guys know what I mean. So, other things I enjoyed about this episode, you know what? All the various Easter eggs to the characters in the larger DC cosmic universe, like Imperiex and Kanjar Row, both villains, more tied in with, the Legion of Superheroes and the future timeline. That was cool seeing that. And I do like seeing a little more of Sarah and Snart's relationship develop, because I feel like those are the two characters that I think have the best on-screen chemistry besides, obviously, Snart and Heatwave. Because those are two characters, obviously, they never met before or anything like that. And there's a real camaraderie between them. They're the young, they're both the same side of the coin. If you guys know what I'm trying to say, I just like how they're developing that relationship. I don't want it to be romantic. I really don't. I don't like romance in these shows, and I'll go into the specifics of that in a bit. But I liked how they're developing that friendship and developing that bond. What else? Other than that, I really liked the episode. The only thing I really didn't care for in this episode, the big glaring thing, I hate the fact that they're making Kendra and Ray a thing. And it's funny because I got to the point in the episode where for the most part of the episode, they're flirting back and forth, especially after last week's episode, they're flirting back and forth and all this stuff. And then Ray, after all that, he's you don't need me, you don't need anyone, you're good on your own. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a great line. Yeah, Kendra doesn't need anyone. And then she kisses him. And it's oh, why? Because now they're making Kendra another damn love interest. It's this is fucking hot girl. Excuse my language, but this is hot girl. You're throwing her aside as a love interest? I don't want to get into full rant mode, because I tend to do that with these shows, because I feel like a lot of times the writers of these shows don't know how to treat their female characters a lot. They barely know how to treat Iris West on The Flash. They barely know how to treat Laurel Lance on Arrow. It's just, you have such a badass character in Hawk Girl, and you're just making her another love interest for the guys in the show. And I really don't like that. I want to see more of Hawk Girl. I don't want to see Kendra Saunders just be the girlfriend to every guy in the show. Last week it was Jax wanted to be with her. Now Ray wants to be with her. Before it was Carter wants to be with her. It's just let her be a character on her own. Damn it! That's all I want as a fan. But besides that, that big glaring issue, I enjoyed the episode, as you guys already know. So with that being said, I think that's gonna be it for me. So if you guys like what you see here, go ahead and hit subscribe below. I do reviews for these shows every single week. I review Supergirl on Mondays, Flash on Tuesdays, and Arrow on Wednesdays, and of course Legend of Tomorrow on Thursdays when the shows aren't on hiatus. So the next couple weeks will probably just be my Supergirl and Legend of Tomorrow videos until all the other shows come back. So yeah, and I have also a bunch of other videos on my channel if you guys want to check those out. So with that being said, that's gonna be it for me. So until next time, guys, have a good one.